One of the most important things when making a dish is sauce work. Mirepoix means carrots, celery, and onion.
Just eat it.
My name's Chef Erica Karbelnik. You may know me from Food Network Canada's Top Chef Canada Season 9, and I'm the co-owner of Carbs Catering and Private Events. I'm going to be showing you how to make a beautiful duck jus from start to finish. It elevates your dish, it ties your dish together, and it just makes everything very cohesive. I want to start off with my boning knife, because I want to get as close to the bones as possible, removing as much of the flesh and the skin from the bones so we have no waste. So I'm going to remove some of that skin. I'm going to keep that skin because I'm going to eventually render that down and use that fat for something else in my cooking. You can make some delicious duck fat potatoes. Those are one of my favorites, duck fat fries. You want to go straight down the center of the spine of the duck, getting as close to that bone as possible, using your fingers to be your guide. Now there is a little almost wishbone right in the front. You want to get in underneath the skin and remove that wishbone. This is why the boning knife is perfect for this. You have a thin tip that's going to slide right inside and not damage the rest of the flesh. You're just trying to get as close to the bone as possible. Flip our duck around, again, using your fingers as the guide along the rib cage of your duck. Once you get to the leg and the wing, you want to flip your bird, and again, going down the natural lines, using the tip of my blade as my guide, and just lightly scoring around the bone, getting a nice, clean, even cut, and you are left with a gorgeous duck breast. And you can see here, I've gotten as close to the bones as possible. You're gonna do the same thing on the other side. The legs, I'm not using today. We will reserve that for another day. But to remove the legs, you go straight down where it separates. This is where I'm going to be using this part of the knife. Once you start getting in closer to the bone, you switch to the tip. And again, you will see the natural shape of the duck leg here on where you're going to be cutting around. Once you get to the joint, you want to give it a little crack. And those are the main cuts of our duck. Now here, what you want to do generally with the duck, again, talking about that duck skin, that duck fat, is you remove all of this because you don't want that in your stock. Now, this is where I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to bring in my cleaver. You can use a chef's knife. Cleaver is a little bit more fun. Here, I'm just going to remove the parts and get this into smaller pieces. Then you're going to take this, cut right through that, and that way you are left with a few smaller pieces here that we're actually going to roast off at a very high temperature to create a caramelized bone, which is going to be the base of our duck stock. Every good stock, which is the beginning of our sauce for our duck dish, always starts with layers of flavor. So we have our duck bones roasting. We also want to get our mirepoix. Mirepoix means carrots, celery, and onion. So we are going to chop these up, throw them on a sheet tray, and get those into the oven to get those nice and golden brown as well. When dicing your mirepoix, don't worry too much about peeling your carrots or even taking the skin off the onion. This is great flavor that we are going to add into the stock. I'm just cutting it up in smaller pieces so that it can roast and get a nice even color in the oven. And we're going to dry roast this, meaning no oil. Now we're gonna get our stock going, which is the first step of making our duck jus. All our vegetables and our bones are nicely roasted. They're just gonna go into a pot filled up with some cold water and some aromatics like thyme, bay leaf, peppercorn, and we're gonna let that sit and simmer for 6 to 8 hours on the stove. For the duck, let nothing go to waste. Add in all that juice and liquid that is on the bottom of the pan. That is flavor. So stock is on, jus is almost ready. Now it's time to get our duck breast searing in a pan. Before we do that, I've removed it from the freezer. You can see that the flesh is still very pliable, it's not frozen, but the skin is nice and tight because this next part is very important. Going back to my boning knife, only using the tip here. I don't want to pierce the skin. Very thin lines on a diagonal here. And this is going to ensure that when you are searing your duck breast, the fat is able to render properly so that you can get that nice crispy duck skin. This is the secret. And that is my duck breast, nice and scored. Now we're gonna start searing. Season your duck with some kosher salt. Make sure you get both sides. And then I'm going to place this in a relatively cold pan. Not much heat, no oil. You start it off in a cold pan, make sure you press it down. And you're going to slowly render this. That is going to give you your beautiful crispy skin. You wanna hold it for just about a minute. Make sure your duck doesn't curl and you're getting it nice and flat. We're just gonna let that go for a few minutes until it gets nice and golden brown. You're gonna see that fat just melt right off. One of my favorite ingredients to garnish with is the pearl onion. It just adds a beautiful elegance as well as adding sweetness to the dish and a char flavor. So I've just laid down some of that beautiful truffle corn puree. We've got the nice sweet Ontario charred corn here. I'm gonna go in right now with this gorgeous duck breast. We're creating a little well here for our jus that we've spent so long making. We've got those really gorgeous pearl onions here that are nice and charred. Then I'm gonna do something super fun. We've got some summer truffle. Then we've got some chive blossoms from my garden. I love these. You can only get them like 2 weeks out of the year. So I grabbed this from my garden. That gorgeous duck stock that we were working on has reduced down twice and now become this thick, glossy, gorgeous duck jus, which is our finisher for the dish. And there you have it. That is my seared duck breast and our beautiful duck jus. A really easy way to elevate your dish from one level to the next.